this is a fairly whirlwind tour. I do talk about this quite a lot. I'm happy to talk about it more, but I'm just going to give you a kind of high-level overview, mostly of the design portion of our design system. I'm quite heavily involved in the tech bit as well. So let me introduce Constellation. We have a multi-brand design system, so this is one of the challenges of doing stuff at scale. It's not just the Lloyds brand. We have a sketch library for our visual designers, we've got component guidance for our UX designers, and currently we have a React library for our web developers. So we started Constellation, and I'm sure you all know the reasons for design systems, but we started Constellation because actually, we had no guidelines whatsoever for how we should approach UI. What we had was fundamentally some print brand guidelines. So each designer, as we picked stuff up and as we scaled, and actually sometimes developers, because we didn't always have designers on projects, were reinventing every interaction and pattern and even like buttons from page to page in terms of how they would look. And you can still see a lot of that fractured experience on sites as they stand at the moment. So really our first thing was about consistency of experience and interface for our users. We wanted to know from one piece of the site to the other what we could expect. The second point was quality, and we found that often our designers on the ground, because sometimes we have delivery deadlines, weren't able to give full consideration to the smallest details in the way that they wanted to. And actually, for the most part, we want them to focus on the bigger picture. We want them to be asking the question what the user needs are, not how the very detailed interactions for this one button should work. And so we hope that by bringing stuff into the centre, we would improve the quality. And finally, we started Constellation, for the same reasons everyone else does, which is faster and cheaper, right? This is the amazing value that a design system gives you when it works fast. By removing the effort of having to redesign everything from scratch every time, you end up being faster. And actually, we've been pretty successful on that. So we're early in our journey, but on average, Constellation saves every project in the bank 190k. And between June to December last year, we saved the business about 3.5 million across the projects that we supported. And actually, we don't have a massive design system right now. It's fairly limited in what it does. However, it's been hard. You've probably heard a little bit about the way things are hard operating at this scale so far today. So when we started this, which was a bit over a year and a half ago, kind of for proper, we've actually got about 20 brands, maybe more than that, maybe less. I'm actually not sure what the full list is right now, but we've got 4 core retail brands that are really important to support. And actually per brand, we had about 10 plus visual language interpretations. And that would depend on, was someone on the mobile site, was someone on internet banking, was someone on the brochureware site, and each of those things had different designers and hence had a different set of interaction designs and also styling. And actually when we started, we had a ratio of 1 designer to every 23 developers. So you can imagine maybe what it was like to be a very small gang of designers going, hi, we'd like to build a design system, please, and we'd like some developers to help us with that. So we're not going to talk in detail about some of the real impacts of that day to day, but I will say it's been a journey, and actually we're still working through it. And bearing those things in mind, let's talk about some of our successes in terms of the product that we actually have at the moment. So, design tooling. So what we have at the moment is per brand, we have 4 fully aligned sketch libraries in terms of their information architecture. And the internal information architecture of a sketch library is really important because actually that's the thing that allows people to pick one up and let it go and then pick up another one and use those things easily. Equally, the information architecture of that is the same as the information architecture of our guidance. All of these things seem completely logical, but they quickly got out of sync when we first started, and it's quite a job to bring it back in a way that made sense to our end users, which for us are our colleagues. We also have automatic sketch library updates using the inbuilt RSS feature in Sketch. We ended up doing a small custom build to be able to support versioning for this functionality. The reason that we did that is it's quite difficult to deploy new systems into the Lloyds Banking architecture. I mean, if any of you work in fintech, you'll probably know the amount of approvals that you have to go through to put any kind of new software out is quite large. The one thing we knew that everyone had was Sketch, and so that was the thing that we focused our efforts around. And we also got within Sketch fully responsive components, which is a bit of a ball ache to do, but we've managed to do it. So what that's done is really slimmed down the size of our libraries, but it's also helped us allow our designers to be more flexible in terms of how they want to present their content at any given time. So we also have a design and build once approach. So this is because we have the same component and the same information architecture across each brand. Both designers and our developers as well, it works the same way in the React library, can produce a single version and then automatically recreate that in the other 3 brands. This has been a massive time saver, and it has been very popular with our colleagues. However, it also has a couple of problems which I'll talk about in a minute. And finally, what we have is some really nice detailed usage guidance. So each component has detailed usage guidance, and we don't release a component now unless we have that ready to go. That's been structured into a simplified do and don't layout, as you can see above, with examples of what good looks like and what it doesn't look like. And I really think that, you know, in an age of nobody really knowing what a design system is, this is the thing that differentiates us from just being a pattern library. It's the thing that we give them the tools, but also we tell people how to make a good experience with that. Finally, the way we've engaged with the business, I think, has also been really successful. So we have weekly drop-in clinics, and they get really rave reviews from our colleagues. We send a fortnightly newsletter, and that is absolutely crammed full of Star Trek and space puns. Absolutely crammed full, which we enjoy even if no one else does. And we also attend things like all of the Lloyds Group hack days to raise awareness of Constellation with the wider kind of network of developers. And as you heard Martin say earlier, we've got 8,000 of them. So there's quite a few to reach. And although this takes quite a lot of time, it's been very valuable because actually we often find people who want to have particular relationships with us through this. We find people who want to contribute developers to help us, or contribute code to help us, or contribute design. And making those kind of extended networks have been really important to our success. But things haven't been all amazing and successful. We're still quite early on in our journey, so let's talk about the things that we're kind of sucking at the moment. Design and build once, guys. Turns out it's not all that good. So it's really successful with our colleagues. Everyone loves it. It's a great time saver, but it actually doesn't allow us, as you can probably see, to have the brand differentiation that we'd really want. Everything is a little bit one fits all out of the box. To be entirely frank, we've yet to work out what a good balance between build effort and brand uniqueness is, and we're continuing to experiment with that. So we've got some new brand work at the moment where we're seeing how far we can push that without re-engineering the libraries, but we are also fighting against the tide of the way LBG does their build when we try to address this. So that one's been a really tricky one. The support and help desk. As our design system has scaled, our processes have not scaled. We only have a semi-functional help desk, and our response rates can be really quite slow. So we actually have a designer who has joined the team just to work on actually how should we redesign ourselves. I don't know if he's still here. Ali, are you here? No, he's left. He's abandoned me. This has been a time suck. We have ended up spending more time on support than we should be, and people have ended up more pissed off at us than they should be. But actually addressing it earlier could have saved us a lot of that time and heartache. So we're glad we're doing it now, but I wish that we'd been a bit more on top of it earlier. And tools for UXers. So while we provide a lot of content guidance for UXers, we haven't provided them with any tooling as of yet. So no Axior or Framer or any of these other tools that they may use. it was a conscious choice when we started because we had a small team and we needed to prioritise, and actually a lot of the immediate impact was in the visual design, but it's also meant that quite a lot of our UXers don't feel particularly close to the system and they don't feel particularly supported by it. And that's it's a disappointment for them, and obviously that's not the environment that we wanted to create for them. So we have a research project underway at the moment to really work out how we can fix that and bring them back into the fold. But I'm sure a lot of you can appreciate there is really no one flavour of UX, and it's quite difficult to find out the best way to support people at this scale because there is no one consistent tool or one consistent approach, and it can be quite variable, but we're trying to work it out. So we're working to address all of those issues now, but we also have, I'm going to give you a little sneak preview, an ambitious roadmap for the next year, and it's really ambitious. So the first thing that we're working on is a multi-platform approach to our design system. So not only will we be covering web, we'll also be going native. And this is a really big challenge. It's one that not many organisations have taken on board. Many have tried and failed, and we may also do the same, but we're going to give it a good old go. The second one is, you may have seen this in the design news, one of our major 4 retail brands, Halifax, has had a big brand overhaul. So this is the first large-scale rebrand that the bank has had to deal with in 5 years. And first time there's been a central team like mine to actually coordinate it and set standards for it. So we've got some excellent interface design in the works, but also this is going to be a real test of our mettle and success as a team. And last but not least is content guidance. So we've always tried to provide a bit about how should we label this thing and what should we say in this box, but actually there's always been a pretty big gaping hole in the system in terms of doing end-to-end interface experience. We now have a conversation designer in our team, which we are very excited about, and we are slowly adding content guidance to our offering. So the point at which we do that, we will then have covered that end-to-end view, which will be really exciting, and I think we'll have quite a complete set of experience guidelines then. So that's been a whirlwind tour of what we're up to. Stay tuned, and there'll be more coming.